He's Hunter.
And he's Andrew.
And
And
we're
we're good
good
boys.
boys.
So I visited Nashville the other weekend. I was in town for like a conference thing that I go to periodically. I did a lot of sightseeing after that. Like it was sort of a half business, half pleasure trip. But the Saturday that I was at the conference, it wraps up around like 5 p.m. ish. And I'm just talking with some guys, and we decide we're going to go get dinner. And I'm going out with a guy I used to know from DC. His name's Dan, editor of the magazine, of a magazine. And a guy named Zach, who just like a Twitter acquaintance. We've DM'd some, finally met in person. And I'm like, oh, my sister recommended this place. It's like 15-minute walk, 5 blocks away, just down Broadway, which is like Nashville's main street downtown. And we're like, okay, cool, let's go get some dinner. We walk out of the hotel where the conference is, and we start walking down Broadway. And dude, it's downtown Nashville on a Saturday night. Like there, it is packed.
Honky tonks.
Honky tonks. There's shirtless guys walking around in cowboy hats.
Oh,
lot
nice.
of women walking around, wearing sashes. Bachelorette parties. We're already seeing party buses. Streets are packed. And here come 3 guys walking down, all suited up. Freaking Zach's in a bow tie. It's like we stand out so much. And I feel so isolated of like, oh no, I'm so visually not with this scene. And normally I'd be fine. You know me, I'd wear a colorful shirt, I'd wear, something. But here, just full suit, like it's not a look. And this one guy, total fucking square. This one guy in a cowboy hat comes up to Zach and asks, like, sort of to him and me, so are you guys professors? And it's one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Like, I'm so glad Zach interacted with him because I couldn't look this guy in the eye. I was so ashamed of, oh my God, the fact I've just been asked that question. I'm wearing practically tweed, being surrounded by these bachelorette parties and honky tonks in downtown Nashville. It's such a bad look. And Zach explains we just came from a conference, and he goes, oh, thanks, Zachary, yada yada. Dude, we're still wearing our fucking name tags from the conference. We forgot to take them off and put them in our pocket. It's so bad.
So you got to say, like, no, we're not professors, we're just dorks.
Again, I wasn't, like, I turned my back. I wasn't facing this guy. I'm like, I just need to keep walking forward till we get to the restaurant and just power through this, because this is much more social embarrassment that I can intellectually handle. It was too much. It was too much.
So you talking about first of all, I heard Nashville's a lot of fun as a city. I've never been, but I heard it's a blast.
I assume it is if you're wearing the appropriate attire.
Yeah, you need to get a bolo tie for the next Nashville trip. No, so you talking about the name tag thing?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, at the AWS conference in Las Vegas, you had like name badges, right? And the way Vegas, everything's on the strip in Vegas. So our hotel's way down at the one end. The conference is way at the other end. We booked this hotel because it's like, this hotel's great, but like that mile walk down the strip and like Vegas sucks so much, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm doing sessions at this conference here and people talk about, whatever. And day ends. So this is like, I'm there from 8 to like 6:30, just listening to people talk about like microservices and then like Amazon Alexa, whatever. I'm ready.
Some real boring shit.
A lot of it, but whatever. Some cool shit. Anyway, by like the time this is over, and I was just info dumped on by like speakers at this conference for several hours, I just want to go back. But you can't just go back when you're in Vegas, because every corner there's the showgirls like trying to get you to take pictures of them. By the time evening rolls around, it's not like the classy showgirls, it's women dressed up as cops calling me sugar, and I'm like, please leave me alone.
It's the streetwalkers.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm walking back, and I'm not with anybody that I've traveled with. It's just me, but there's a whole sea of people from the conference going this direction, right? So I'm 3 blocks from my hotel at this point, and there's escalators that go up, and then you can walk over a bridge, and then escalators that go down to get to the other side of the strip. So I'm going up, and I still have my badge hanging there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's another guy from the conference that still has his badge on. And we look
You
like
just don't even think about it.
yeah, like exactly because you have it on all day. Like you scan it to get into like these sessions
Mhm.
or whatever. So this guy and I, we're not walking together, but we have walked together the whole way down. We haven't talked, we haven't said anything to each other.
We're not
We're
walking
just
together. We've just traveled together for a mile.
exactly. Well, that's just how burnt out you are, right? You're like, the heat. I was just sitting there. I want to go get food and sit on like a bed in a hotel room for like an hour, right? So we're going, and there's an up escalator right next to a down escalator, like any regular escalator situation. And we look like dorks, just button up shirt, khaki pants. There's a super well dressed man, super well dressed, coming down the escalator this way, and we're going up, right? He thinks we're together because we've been walking together this whole time, and they have the little escort and dancer advertisement business cards that they hand out in Vegas. And he whips one out like between his fingers, like right like that at both of us, and we're just like, and he says, "Going
You're
to
not
the
used to cool moves like that back in Altoona.
exactly right." So he whips it out, and he's like, "Going to the strip club tonight, boys." And he's like a promoter,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just like sort of ignoring him, right? And he's like, "Gonna go see some titties," right? And we're just like, ooh. And like now we're like making eye contact with each other, like maybe we should act like we are together, and we're not into, go to the strip club tonight. But we're passing him on the escalator as this is happening, and as we get past him, he's just holding it out, like trying to get us to take it, and just the most sad, defeated look goes on his face. And as we pass, we sort of like watch him go past us as we kind of ignore him, that
Just
sort of
side
thing.
eye.
Yeah, sort of just like this. And he just real sad goes, "No titties?" And that's the story. So he just, so he's, so he's just the no titties guy. That's the whole thing. Yeah,
The only similar interaction I had in Nashville was as we kept walking down the street. I was wearing one of my antique ties. It had Senator Robert Taft of Ohio's face on it. It's from the 1952 Republican National Convention, and about half a dozen girls who were all in the same bachelorette party kind of half stopped as they're walking by us to say, "Oh my God, I love your tie," and they all sing in agreement.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know if I doubt they know who Robert Taft is or maybe they do. Maybe they're actually huge fans of him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just like a whole group.
Maybe they're
like
huge fans of the Senate Majority Leader from 70 years ago.
Here's the deal. The reason that they're not actually that into him, and they probably don't know who he is, the reason is because if it was the small subsection of people that were really into them, they would have said a lot more than "we love your tie." They would have asked for pictures. Most certainly. That's how
true.
Yeah, that's how you know. So one more quick thing. Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, sort of a thing I had semi-related to Nashville. This is it's now a problem that I'm incurring, and I kind of wanted your thoughts on it because I don't really know how to solve it. So when you go to events like this, as I'm sure you experience in Las Vegas, and you meet new people, one of the first questions they ask you is, "Where are you from?" Now, you don't really have this problem because you're from Altoona and you've chosen to live and die there and not travel outside the city limits. But, I've gone off. I've lived various other places. So before, when I lived in Washington, D.C., it was really easy to say, oh, well, I live in D.C., but I'm originally from Pennsylvania. Real quick, very straightforward. But now, since I moved to Florida, I've only been in St. Augustine 5 months. But when people ask me where I'm from, like, it's an awkward stage where it's like, well, I just moved to St. Augustine, but then do I jump straight to, but I'm originally from Pennsylvania, or do I mention that I lived in DC for 3 years, which is by far the most interesting of the locations and most explanatory of my interests. So it's like, but I can't say all three because that's too long. I'm just wasting their time. Like, oh, I live in St. Augustine, but I lived in DC the past 3 years, but I'm originally from Pennsylvania. It's too much. So when people ask me, where am I from? What do you think I should say?
So you know how people on their Instagram to Twitter bios will have like PA
And then the little arrows or like an airplane.
airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to have PA and then a little driving car to DC and then a little driving car because you don't fly to Florida to FL. And then you just need to show them that. I'm sure it won't be off-putting at all. But
it won't be off-putting when I hand them a laminated card explaining that through, symbols.
Yeah, just like the card from the Joker movie. Like,
and then I ask for the card back. I'm sorry, I only have one of these.
Yeah, it's laminated. It's built to last. Yeah, of course.
But it's a genuine problem. Like, do you think I should I say, oh, I just moved to St. Augustine, Florida, but I used to live in DC? Like, do I cut out Pennsylvania entirely? Even though that's where I'm from, like.
No, I think that the way that goes is you I'll be you, and then you're somebody I meet. Okay, so introduce yourself to me as just a guy.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Oh,
where
Bob.
are you from?
Very rude, Bob. Very. Okay, so we can't do it.
You can't ask me to come up with a character on the spot. I don't know backstory. I haven't had time to plan this.
Okay, not an improv guy. Okay, what I would say is I'm Hunter. I'm living in St. Augustine now. And then as you have a conversation with the person, you can explain time in DC and where you're actually initially from. But I think
I've never been interested enough in small talk with another person to ask those follow-up questions. So likely they won't be gotten to.
But then why do you even care if they know? Why are you trying to dump exposition on people that you meet?
Because I'm superficial.
If you were superficial, then if they asked you where you were from, you would say, don't worry about it.
Well, no, because I want to make I want to make the best impression. I don't care about them, but I want them to care about me. What's a better word than superficial for that?
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Then I don't know. Like, I don't know how to solve this problem. You could just keep recently in there for some time, and then recently might start with some other conversation.
After I've lived here over a year, I'll feel comfortable saying, "Oh, I live in St. Augustine," without much more follow up. But I don't want to give the impression that I know my way around, because a lot of people are familiar with St. Augustine, and they might want to ask follow up questions. They're like, "Oh, I vacationed there once or something," but I don't want to give the impression like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Florida."
No, I think there's a chance you might be overthinking this.
I mean, that's possible. I can't rule that out.
Small chance. I don't know. I can't help you. Like you said, I've built a gate to the outside world, or built a fence to the outside world, and I only go through that gate like 3 times a year. So, Okay. One more
I'll
thing.
take your card idea under advisement.
Okay, well, and I'll make one for you. If you actually use it at any point in time, I'll make it for you. If you promise
I'll
to
just
use it
start
just
whipping
once.
that card out like that guy did on the escalator.
Yeah, right. No DC. All right. One more thing. Last weekend, friend's little sister got married, so I drove out to Pittsburgh last weekend for her wedding. Actually, to the other side of the Pittsburgh, or to Pittsburgh, and that drive sucks. But
I had to drive 10 and a half hours to Nashville. I don't want to hear about drive sucking.
that's fair. But that wasn't. I would have just flown to Nashville.
I was going to be driving all around the city, sightseeing and stuff. I really needed my car with me. Also, I bought a lot of souvenir, touristy bullshit.
Oh, right on. Yeah, it makes it easier. You don't want to fly with a bunch of fucking coffee mugs.
Coffee mugs and fridge magnets.
Exactly. Like
keychains.
This man's just really into souvenirs. But anyway, there was a concrete truck, cement truck, driving in front of me, and they were sort of hogging up the middle lane, right? And this was where a 70 goes into a 55.
Mm-hmm.
I went up to like 82 to pass the cement truck, so I go around and just keep going. The speed limit changes. My GPS says there's a speed trap ahead, and I'm like, oh, okay. And right when she says it, I see the cop car come down, and I was like, son of a bitch. At this point, I'm down to probably 40 miles per hour, just on the slowdown. And cop goes, cuts in front of the car that was right behind me. Lights go on. I was like, son of a bitch, because I know how fast I was going, and I know the sign. I was going like close to 30 over, right? So I pull out license, registration. Trooper walks up to the car. He's like, hey, I got you going like 30 over. I'm going to see what I can do for you. I'm like, all right, officer. Hand him my shit. And I'm like, oh no. So I get out my phone immediately. I'm like, penalty for 30 over. Right. And it's like 15-day, it's like 15-day license suspension. And I'm like, oh no, I cannot have my license suspended for 15 days. This would be horrible, right?
You were going 80 and a 50, right?
80 and a 50, 82 and a 55.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back and he hands me the citation. He's like, hey, I wrote you for 5 over. Just drive safely out there. And I'm like, I say thank you to the guy because he could have ruined my next month basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, thanks, officer. You have a great day. And then I looked at the ticket. Do you know what the citation was for 5 over? $167. So I'm like,
yeah, you're like, just take my license, please.
Right. So I'm like, this is better than losing my license, but that sucks, So and then the rest of the way, I'm afraid to, go above the speed limit at all because I'm like,
the rest of the way you're going 40 and a 70.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm causing accidents from driving too safely. Right. So I'm, I get there 2 minutes before the wedding starts. The bridal party's in the the entryway to this church. And I sort of go in and I'm like, oh, hey, everybody. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Oh. I'm like a family friend to the bride's older brother, So it's just like, I sneak in like, hey, guys.
Person you would expect to crash a wedding.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, guys. I'm like, to bride's mom, I'm like, you look beautiful, Sherry. Slide in. Like the groom's half sits on one side, bride sits on the other. I'm just like, empty seat, slide right in. As soon as my ass hits the pew in this church, the music's starts going, and I'm like, oh, I wasn't late. This is perfect. And then immediately bridal party right after me. So I'm like, oh, if I was a little bit later, they would have thought I was part of the bridal party. They would have thought it was some new thing. Somebody just walks in, goes into the back row, and you forget about them the rest of the time. But Yeah, it was a fun trip. Very nice wedding.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But the other thing that happened last weekend, I saw the movie Barbarian. Have you seen the
No,
ads for that?
I don't think so. The title sounds vaguely familiar. I never saw a trailer.
It's the one that has Alexander Skarsgård's little brother in it. Bill Skarsgård, the guy that played Pennywise in the new It's.
Didn't the Skarsgård just do the Viking movie earlier this year?
Yeah, that's the older one. That's Alexander.
So they both did like barbarian movies in the same year.
I mean, if you're gonna call Vikings barbarians, I guess.
I
But
mean,
this
I'm not
one's
here to offend the Nordic community, but we all know what they did.
this one's legitimately called Barbarian though, which the name doesn't actually make much sense. Like I get it, like it's barbaric, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Um,
I just think of Dave the Barbarian, the old TV show.
that was a great show. That
I
was
won't
it.
say great, it was a good show.
Now that was one of those. It's that classic character design where they have the real little legs but the real big tops. I love like the like that the Johnny Bravo chic, like that look. Right. So uh the movie was excellent, by the way. It was like legitimately an awesome movie. But about halfway through, maybe a third of the way through, um, there's a scene in a car and somebody's driving a car and singing. And then I didn't know he was in the movie, but I just went, oh man, that's Justin Long. He wasn't in any of the trailers, none of the advertising for it, and he's in it. And from spoiler alert, the last like 2/3 of the movie, he's like the male lead, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a Kevin Spacey and Seven situation, right? I didn't know he was there until I saw him. Well, he did an excellent job in that movie. He was playing an asshole from Hollywood and did an excellent job at it. And that got me to thinking, who are some of my like favorite C-list actors and actresses? And Justin Long makes that list because I can't think of a movie that he's been the lead in outside of The Walrus in the first Jeepers Creepers movie, which are both low budget, semi forgettable. I mean, Jeepers Creepers, I have a lot of nostalgia to that with that movie. The Walrus is not easily forgettable because of what it is. Have you seen The Walrus?
I have not. I'm looking up Justin Long because I know who you're talking about, but I want to refresh the movies he's in before I say my statement. Oh yeah, he was in Dodgeball. I'm not a particular fan of Justin Long. I completely agree that he's a C-lister, but he's not the person I was thinking of. There's someone else who looks just like him who I think's a real douchebag, but I can't remember.
I think with C-listers, we're going to have a lot of those because I'm going to talk about somebody shortly and you're going to be like, oh, that person. And then I'm going to be like, no, you're thinking of her. And you're going to be like, oh.
Oh.
maybe not, but just a thought. But anyway, I think Justin
Now
Long.
I want to figure out who I am thinking about for the douchebag, but keep talking.
I think Justin Long nails it in everything he does, though. I think in Jeepers Creepers, he plays like the perfect little brother victim type character. I think in Walrus, he does a great job, even eventually playing a man that's been transformed into a walrus. He's in Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Mm-hmm.
He has a small role where he is the lover of the dude that Miri had a crush in all through high school. It was like a big football star, and he's a gay porn star, and that's how she finds out that her high school crush is gay, is that he's dating a gay porn star. He plays that role perfectly. He plays his role in The Walrus really well. Jeepers Creepers is pretty cool. He gets his eyeballs, knocked out at the end. Dodgeball, he plays. I think he does a fine job as
Wimp.
like the wimpy nerd. Yeah, that ends up having an arc where he saves his high school's cheer team by cheerleading with his crush after her boyfriend just broke every bone in his body on the roller coaster. But I think that he is the perfect embodiment of a C-lister. You see him and you're like, oh, that guy. And then he does something like pretty strong.
I completely agree. He's a great embodiment of a C-lister. Here's a twist. He is the guy I was thinking of. I double-checked because I was thinking like, oh, who's that douchebag I really hate from He's Just Not That Into You? And it is
That's
Justin
him.
Long. It is
Him.
Justin Long. And I hated him in that movie because, very specifically, it has really turned me into like, oh, God. Every time I see his face, I'm like, oh, fuck this guy. Because in the movie, he's trying, because he doesn't play it well. In the movie, he's trying to play the part of, this cool ladies' man and stuff, but he still just seems like the wimpy nerd from Dodgeball. So it's like it's completely incongruous to his behavior and dialogue, to how he appears and acts. And I'm just I find Justin Long extremely off-putting. His face, his mannerisms, his voice, everything about him. I don't like him. I don't like seeing him. I agree with you. He's a C-lister. Totally with you on that boat, but not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, he's one of my favorites.
Oh, well.
Well, what do you have? What's get Trump Justin Long?
These are people. I have a very short list. These are people that just sort of occurred to me very randomly. It's just like, oh, I guess there's the actors. Oh, I do kind of enjoy whenever I see them. My first one is Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler. She played the love interest. This is where she's done quite a few things, but I know her primarily as the love interest in Armageddon and The Incredible Hulk, opposite Edward Norton.
Wait, did she play Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, she's in that too, but I haven't seen those movies.
Yeah, I guess she's a C-lister. Does she?
She doesn't have any strong leads. It's pretty much all supporting.
I thought
she has some love interest roles.
Is she not the female lead in Gone Girl?
I've never seen Gone Girl.
Gone Girl's, I believe that's her and Ben Affleck, and she does a great job in that. If I'm thinking of the same person.
Nope, she's not in Gone Girl.
No, it's not Gone Girl. It's we're figuring this out. I'm thinking of, I'm almost certain that she's who I'm thinking of.
We should have known that any discussion of C-listers would just devolve into, wait, who is in that movie? Let me look.
No, why am I not? Now I need to figure out who the actress is because I really thought it was Liv Tyler. One second.
It's Rosamund Pike. Whoever that is. Oh, she was in Doom. Oh, wait, Carl Urban was in Doom? I need to rewatch that movie. I know everyone hated it, but I thought it was fine. But I never played the game.
This is gonna. I haven't watched it. I played the game. Some of the mini iterations of it. This is gonna devolve if we keep doing this. Like, oh yeah, what was she in? But yeah, different person. But yeah,
we've lost the plot,
right? But the actress in Gone Girl is like she's easily confused with Liv Tyler. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you see it? Do you see a resemblance?
No.
Oh.
Totally different face structure.
Well, fine.
Anyway, that's who I thought of. Liv Tyler, C-list star, but I enjoy seeing her as the love interest in those movies. I think she does a good job.
Yeah, she's solid. She's Steven Tyler's daughter too, so that's cool.
Sure.
Yeah, you're a big Aerosmith fan. So I think a lot of times with C-listers, you talk about typecasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that I think is now typecast as the male protagonist in a spooky movie is Patrick Wilson. I have him as another very good C-lister. I think he does a good job in the Conjuring movies. He's the guy from Insidious as well. I think he does well in that. And he's Night Owl in The Watchmen, and I think he does a phenomenal job in that. But I think he's the embodiment of a typecast C-lister. The other movie he was Hard Candy. He was good in that too. He played a creep, and yeah, I think that he's another one that's very, very solid.
I think he's a B-lister.
Do you really?
You just named some pretty prominent roles. I mean, he's a major, like, the Conjuring series is like one of the most prominent, is probably the most prominent. Well, no, because one of the most prominent horror series of the past decade. He's a main character. He was one of the leads in the ensemble cast of Watchmen. Like, I definitely consider him a B-lister.
So I hear you, but I think that I don't think that that name invokes, oh, I know that guy. I think seeing him in a movie makes you point and go, oh, that guy from. I don't think that for most people that his name really tends to sort of stick around to them. I think it's just, oh, he's that guy from. Maybe that's wrong, but that's always the emotion seeing him like invokes from me is, oh, it's that guy. He has that guyness.
I'm not judging it off recognition. I'm judging it on their careers. Like, have they been the lead in any at least mid-tier movie? Or have they been the supporting character in a major movie? And he has been the lead in several at least mid-tier movies, which you'd have to consider The Conjuring at a minimum. And he was a supporting character in a major movie, Watchmen. And I mean, those are just the two examples that you listed that I'm familiar with. But no, I definitely think he's a B actor.
So,
whereas I think a C actor has to either be they've never been a lead, or they would never, and it's unlikely they would ever be cast in a lead, or if they were cast in a lead, it's a very, very low budget like movie that nobody saw.
See, I sort of approach it a little bit differently. I think stardom. I don't think like actual resume. I think more so stardom. Tom Cruise is the A-lister of A-listers, right? He's starred in a lot of movies. He's prominent in the zeitgeist. People know who he is. I think Edward Norton, I'm not going to say that he's not a phenomenal actor, but I think that Edward Norton is a B-lister. And I also think that John Travolta is a B-lister. I don't think that they have the same impact that they had before, whereas somebody like Tom Cruise does. John Travolta is a little bit of a stretch because he's was popular for years and has sort of kept that up.
Yeah, I think John Travolta was arguably an A-lister at one time. I agree with you that the way to separate A-listers is does the name alone, does that actor, by being in the movie, put butts in the seats? Tom Cruise does that. Edward Norton, who I much prefer over Tom Cruise, does not. Edward Norton is a B actor, and that's, I think, like, I would agree with that. I just think I differentiate C from B in a different way that I differentiate A from B. Like, I would argue, if we're talking movie stars and that's how we're defining A, there's only like 6 people in that category these days.
Brad Pitt, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise.
Not Johnny Depp. Brad Pitt, I mean, his movie, the Bullet Train, that just plummeted at the box office. Not a movie star. God, who is the person I would say is definitely a movie star? Tom Cruise, I'd agree, is just there at coming off of after Top Gun Maverick. And you know who would actually also put in there as a movie star is Sandra Bullock. I think Sandra Bullock's a movie star. I think people go to see her movies for Sandra Bullock.
Almost certainly. Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. She's not just wonderful actress, a movie star. Like, she has that appeal.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think Angelina Jolie falls into that category too. I think people go to see movies because Angelina
When's the
Jolie's
last
in the
time
movie.
Angelina Jolie was in a movie?
It's been a while, but I think when she was in movies, like I think the animated Beowulf, I think Angelina Jolie
That's
voicing.
what you're pulling
No,
out?
no,
Is look at
listen.
this.
I
Look at
think
this movie stardom. The animated
animated
like
movie,
CG like the
her voicing.
CGI Beowulf from like what, the mid 2000s?
Yeah, but I think that her voicing a character in that movie put butts in seats. I wholeheartedly believe
There
that.
were no butts in the seats for that movie.
My butt was in the seat.
Yeah, and the theater was empty around you. Good God.
All right, let's go. Who do you have there in your
You
number
might
two
consider this
spot?
person a B-lister. Everything I've seen them in is pretty supporting. John Rhys Davies. You also in Lord of the Rings, but I primarily love him as Sala from Indiana Jones.
Yeah, John Rhys Davies is that. He's a good
C-lister?
C-lister. Yeah, he's a C-lister for
Yeah.
sure.
I see him on the screen and I become happier.
Yeah, that's good. You went with your choices. I believe that you went much less known than I did.
Wasn't that what
And
C-list is?
I don't know if it goes lower than C. I think that there's D-listers.
Are you
Let's say,
calling Liv Tyler a D-lister?
no, I think Liv Tyler is certainly a C-lister. But I think John Rhys Davies is a D-lister.
Really? He's done a lot of stuff. I haven't seen any of it, but he's done a lot. He works regularly.
He was they do a Comic-Con type thing in town. They've been doing it for a little while, and he was one of their guests the one year, and I was like,
Yeah, if you're showing up
John
to an
Rhys Davies.
Altoona Comic-Con, that's pretty C-list.
I mean, it's decent enough attendance, but here's the thing you have to remember: whenever there's not much to do, events become more special, so more people tend to attend. If that makes any sense. But yeah, I think that I would say if there's D-listers, I would say John Rhys Davies is a D-lister, but he does a good job.
I have one more small one on my list. Can I just round it out?
Yeah.
All right. The next one, I guarantee you're not going to recognize. Her name is Lauren Lapkus. She did a supporting role in the early seasons of Orange is the New Black. She had a very, very bit part in Jurassic World. And the main reason I'm putting on her list, she was the love interest in a very ill-received Adam Sandler produced movie with what's his name? One moment. I'm gonna have it. It's David Spade. She played David Spade's love interest in a movie called The Wrong Missy. It was a Netflix original from a few years ago from Adam Sandler's studio, even though he's not in the movie. It got totally panned. I quite enjoyed it, and I thought she was hilarious in it. She's an absolute C-lister. But every time I see her, I'm like, oh, I like her. I like her a lot. Again, that's Lauren Lapkus.
Yeah, I've seen Lauren Lapkus in some things.
Yeah,
I think that she's certainly recognizable. I can't think of anything where I'm like, yeah, she did a great job in that.
Recognizable face.
She does. So my last one, and you're going to say this person is a B-lister, but my last one is Jessica Chastain.
Not only is she a B-lister, she's near the top of the B-list. She's not even lower B-list. Dude, she is the leading lady in many goddamn movies.
I can only think of. I'm
not a Jessica Chastain fan. I don't think she's that great an actress, but she gets these roles.
I can only think of the one.
IMDb is some serious stuff.
Is it though? I can only think. Maybe I just haven't. Maybe I should have looked at more of like more of what these people have done before I put them on this list.
Like Yeah, she just won the Academy Award for Best Actress for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and then before that, she was in Molly's Game.
Molly's Game was great. She did a great job on
Interstellar,
that.
Zero Dark 30, It Chapter 2. Yeah, these are
Martian,
all
The Help. Yeah.
all of these. Yeah, The Help, dude.
She's
These are all.
borderline movie
She's
star, isn't
absolutely a
she?
B-lister, and that Academy Award just makes her top of the B-list. Like, what are
Like,
you
she's-
talking about? A C-lister?
Like, she could be approaching movie star, huh?
Also, the fact you just mentioned the name Jessica Chastain, I think most people know who that is. At the very least, they're like, oh yeah, the redhead. Like, they know her, even by your own standards. Wow, that came out of nowhere. All right.
No, who I was thinking of?
You're gonna name
Bryce-
someone even more famous. Who?
Bryce Dallas Howard is who I was actually thinking of.
Again, top of the B list. What the hell are you talking about? Bryce Dallas Howard does so many movies. She was just the co-lead in the Jurassic World trilogy, which was dog shit, terrible movies, but still, these are billion-dollar pictures where she's sharing co-credit with Chris Pratt. What are you talking about, C-listers? And I literally knew you were going to say that. When I said you're about to name someone even more famous, and you go and do it. God damn it. This was your idea. You did not prep for this list at all. Shit.
Can I tell you what I did? So
you didn't even look up Wikipedia bios before doing this.
So what I did was when I was watching Barbarian and I saw Justin Long, I just thought I was like, oh, Justin Long's in this. That would be a good topic, right? But I realized that
you just wanted to talk about Justin Long for 15 minutes.
I really just wanted to talk about the Justin Long reveal and the Barbarian.
You're calling Ron Howard's daughter a C-lister. What the hell is happening?
Your list is so much better than mine. It's so much better. Without a doubt.
Because I actually I thought I was coming into this with a terrible list. I only have 3 names, but I actually bothered to look up and make sure, oh yeah, this person is C-list for sure.
What was great?
And you came in with, I want to talk about Justin Long. You added 2 more names, and no one else besides Justin Long was C-list. It's just him. That's all you brought to the table.
But he's definitely C-list, right?
Who gives a fuck at this point?
So, oh man.
You named a C-lister and 2 B-listers on the cusp of A-list.
What's great is that the Patrick Wilson thing, I was trying to make an argument for him being a C-lister, but he's probably not. He's probably middle of being a B-lister.
Yeah, he's at least mid-tier B-lister. He's not even just above C.
But after we had our conversation about Patrick Wilson and why he is probably a B-lister and not
certainly don't pussy out of this. Not probably. He's a B-lister.
And not a C-lister. I was just looking at my list and I was like, I wonder if I can slide Jessica Chastain past him. Maybe he'll just be like, oh yeah, man, I saw her in The Help. But that didn't work out. But yeah, that's all I got. Your list was absolutely better than mine, but I still think
no one cares what you think at this point. You've robbed yourself of all credibility.
I still think that Justin Long's the perfect C-lister.
Whatever you have to hold on to make yourself at least satisfied after this segment. My God. Moving on to something with a little bit more research and prep work done about this. What are some books you liked to read before when you were a kid? Books that you read or enjoyed reading, or that most kids enjoyed reading before the age of 13. Let's go.
All right. So before, oh, you're so disgusted.
I'm repulsed at this point.
Okay, so, my grandparents. I'm gonna just make this more broad because I'm gonna talk about comic books for a second. So my grandparents. Oh, it's Comic books are books.
I was hoping we'd leave this exclusively to novels, but I didn't say no comic books, so I can't complain officially. Go ahead.
You don't want to give me the slack. We'll talk about comic books some other time. So the first book I read was I remember the first book I read, like novel, I read the whole way through. I was 6, and it was the 3rd Harry Potter book, Prisoner of Azkaban.
You just skipped the first 2?
No, when my grandma read the first 2 to me whenever I was like a really young kid, I would sit there with my grandma and she would get, and I didn't, realize that because I was a really young kid, but she'd get super stoned and read about the wizard to me. And I know for a fact she was so cool, but she was like kind of a hippie. Mm-hmm. So we'd just lay there and I'd be like, oh, like this is cool. And she'd be so interested. She'd do little voices for all the characters. Oh, it was great. She actually sparked my interest in reading as a kid. But yeah, it was the 3rd Harry Potter book.
What happened to it?
It was the 3rd. I actually can't say anything now. I consume almost all books in audiobook form now. I know. But yeah, she sparked my interest in reading as a kid. It was the 3rd Harry Potter book. And all I read as a kid was science fiction and fantasy after that. I found, this is actually kind of cool. So after that, I moved on to, this isn't kind of cool, but I moved on to all the Narnia books. I still have those.
Oh, wow.
My other grandparents, they got me, they were adaptations of classics, but
I read those too.
The white ones that have like are we talking about the same books?
I don't know.
They were all white, but they were at least the versions I had, they were all white. Like there was a kid's version of Moby
No, mine
Dick,
were
for
like,
example.
supposed like made to look fake fancy with like the covers and stuff.
Oh,
but they were like, we took Dracula and we simplified it into like 180 pages for like a kid to read.
Yep,
I read I read all of the classics in that form, which hindsight 2020 was probably bad because I never went on to read the actual books.
Yeah, I never,
because I know everything.
Yeah, like you get the gist of it. Like there's not a chance I'm gonna read like, I don't know, Treasure Island or something. Like it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I already read the version of it.
Yeah, that's the we actually just I gave away those to the neighbors. The neighbors have a kid. She's probably like 5 or 6. I gave those away to her. But after that, I moved on to, this is actually kind of cool. I'm just gonna get nerdy for a second, but this print copy of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, right? I don't know if you can see how old that is. Super old. But these guys were published in, like, this printing at least is from
God, please be from like 1998.
No. It's not ancient, but it's fairly old. This printing is from, oh man, I can't find it. Yeah, 1984. So they're pretty old.
Not super. No, it's not.
That's pretty old. Yeah.
It's from the 80s.
Yeah, 1984.
Oh, you bought a book that was written in the 30s and you bought the printing from the 80s? That's not impressive.
Well, Hunter, it's what I found, okay? I'm telling a story. So The Hobbit was the next thing I remember reading that young.
I'm not dragging you for reading The Hobbit. I think that's an ideal children's book. I'm dragging you for doing the side segment of, guess how old this copy is? It's from 1985. Isn't that impressive?
Well, see, it's from 1984, not 85, but
it could be from 1983. It's still not impressive.
Go off then. That's the only notable thing. Oh, Do you remember those books? Um, girls in elementary school were really into them, and I was like, yeah, I'll read these things. They were the Warriors, the ones about the cats. Do you remember those? Do you remember seeing those around? They
You
were
mean
like,
Animorphs?
no, it was called Warriors.
No,
Like
I don't
I
know it.
wonder if there's one like hanging around. No, I don't have those anymore, but probably because they were books made for little girls. But they were about anthropomorphic cats that were like in clans and would fight each other. I read the first like two of those, I think, and was over it. Outside of that, Goosebumps. My older brother had a bunch of Goosebumps, so I
Loved
read
Goosebumps. I
those.
read a ton of Goosebumps.
Um, but yeah, it was mostly that. I remember reading. There's a series of books called the Dresden Files. I got into those way too soon because, again, just not being supervised well enough as a kid, I guess. Like the first scene, one of the first scenes in the first book is um, somebody tied up on a bed dead, like with their heart ripped out, like in a stage of undress. And I was like, I think 11. And I was just like, oh, yeah, this is cool. So, yeah, that was the end of me reading like children's books, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But how
Crossed
about
the
you?
threshold.
Yeah, right.
Um, Loved Goosebumps as a kid. That was like probably the main series I read. Um, I loved My Side of the Mountain. Did you ever read that? It's about the little boy who leaves the city, runs away from home to live in the Catskills Mountains, and he lives in a big tree that he carves out and, survives in the wilderness. He has a hawk named Feifel or something.
No, the plot sounds familiar, but I don't. I
Oh,
don't.
loved
I
that
don't
book.
know.
That was great for my development. And the other one, like I think the quintessential like boyhood book, Indian in the Cupboard. That's a great book.
Oh yeah, I remember Indian in the Cupboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fine.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it was fine.
I think it possesses such a great, adventurism and creativity when you're a young boy.
Oh, what was that? Um, I don't remember. I don't remember much of it though.
They made like a billion sequels to it.
Yeah, I know. Hmm.
When I was really little, I enjoyed the Frog and Toad series.
Oh, Frog and Toad are awesome.
They're great. You can read
Yeah,
those as adults. It still hits home.
for sure. They're very wholesome. They're awesome.
I actually, when I was little, so we're talking third, fourth grade, I read a couple of the Junie B. Jones books. Remember that?
I do. I've never read any of them. What was the little tagline she said?
I don't know, something about always saying the B in her name, or.
The B stands for Beatrice.
But I don't
But
like Beatrice, so it's just B. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Those weren't very good.
No, I just remember the tagline. I may have read one.
I feel like everyone that I knew read Where the Red Fern Grows, but I never read it.
I never read it either.
Hmm. Maybe
Oh,
somebody like it.
yeah, I haven't. I've never heard anybody express that they liked it or disliked it. I just know it's a
I
thing.
felt people liked it at the time, but I haven't heard anyone express that as an adult.
Yeah.
I never read them, but my older siblings loved the Babysitter's Club.
I don't even know what those are about. I've seen them, but I don't know what are they. Do you know anything about them?
Only what I could try to inference from a Robot Chicken sketch.
I don't know the sketch. Probably get more from the sketch. um, what was that?
What?
Do you remember Hatchet? Remember the book Hatchet?
That sounds familiar.
I think that's what it's called. I remember reading that. That's one that I remember reading that I think a lot of people really enjoyed. That was I hope I'm thinking of the right book. I believe a kid's on a plane and it crashes. He has to like survive or something. Maybe I'm thinking of something
Not
else.
ringing a bell.
I know that one was popular.
I only read 2 of these, but these were huge. Magic Treehouse.
Magic Treehouse. I never read any of them. I remember in like kindergarten and first grade, they do story time, and they she read through all the Magic Treehouse. So like I experienced them, but I never read them personally. The other one was the Boxcar Children.
I was gonna bring those up. I read they were in like they had a whole series of them just like in one classroom one year, and I read the first book when I had some free time, and I remember liking it well enough, but I never continued reading it. Did you read it?
Um, no, I didn't. I think I started the first book. I also love how you said I loved the first book when I had some free time when you were in elementary school. When I could clear out some room on my schedule, I penciled in the Boxcar Children.
That's what happened.
Yeah, just like between lunch and reading class, I'll read. Just took a spelling test on those like the long strips of paper. Do you remember those? The spelling text
Oh
strips of
yes.
paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep, I remember that.
the long ones that like you could like just 20 words straight down.
I feel like I'm the only person who didn't like this book, The Outsiders.
That's more
I think it's right on the cusp. I
YA.
think you read that when you're like 13, 14 tops.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's why that is one that's right on the cusp. I I
I
was
just
like
thought it was so campy. Like, go on, you stay golden,
Pony
pony boy.
Boy.
Come on. Oh, we're eating all these bologna sandwiches while we're hiding out after, I guess, accidentally killing that guy. I don't know. I thought it was just dumb.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
a
then the
whole
guy, what's his name, Dallas, I don't know, commits
that.
suicide by cop at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think if there was Pony Boy. Wasn't one of their names. Oh, that was Dally. Yeah, Dallas, Dally.
Rally,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then there was, man, I can't remember any of the other goofy ass names, but they all had goofy ass names.
Dude, people loved that book when they read it in school. I never understood it.
I think it's because it was just very different than like
I guess, but all these people just being like, "Oh yeah, I totally identify with I forget the gang names, but they all wanted to be on the like the poor kid side."
the greasers or whatever.
The greasers, yeah. Like it just ugh.
Well, the you said that. I feel like you're just expressing anger over discussions of the book The Outsiders you had in like the 8th grade with your peers. Like they were
It's all part of the reading experience, okay?
Yeah.
You know, it all informs what you think of the book.
Like they were called on during class and just gave some bullshit run of the mill answer, and you're like, I hate your perspective
it's so much worse
on the
than that. It's not
Outsiders.
that they gave a bullshit answer because they're just like whatever. It's that they really deeply cared about it, and I'm like, that's so dumb. It was their genuineness that turned me off.
Yeah, I feel that. Like
I hated their sincerity in loving this book.
I hate that you enjoy things.
That's gonna make me not enjoy it.
Yeah, right. Well, what was the book about? Did you read the one about the kid in the boarding school who pushes his buddy out of the tree?
No.
No, what was that book called? Yeah, they're in a boarding school, and the one kid's super jealous of the other kid.
So he commits murder.
And I'm trying to remember the details. So they're jumping into this river from this tree where there's like a tire swing, like, whole angsty coming of age type thing. And the kid's jealous of him and he like pushes him. And the kid falls and the kid has some stupid name that ends in a Y too. Like Hammy or something like that. or maybe it's a real name like Denny. Maybe it is Denny. I don't remember. But he pushes him out of a tree and the kid breaks his leg. And then like they have a whole year where they like go through all their teenage angst stuff. And at the end, the kid that broke his leg ends up dying because he has I don't know what you call it, but bone marrow got into his bloodstream and then like stopped his heart. So the kid dies. So the kid that pushed his best friend out of a tree because he was like jealous of just how fucking cool he was. Feels real bad because he, murdered his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that one?
No, I don't know that one.
That one was actually
seems like a strange book with a very strange moral.
that one was actually okay, but I can't remember what it was called.
I liked Tom Sawyer. I never read Huckleberry Finn.
All I've read by Mark Twain was A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
I think I read the book, and the one actor did a really funny version of that. Lawrence something. The black actor who was a
Lawrence
comedian.
Fishburne. Lawrence
No.
Fishburne? Oh.
Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence.
Oh,
honestly,
yeah, the
Martin
comedian.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
the actor.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence does a good job.
I'm not saying he doesn't do a good job. I like his comedies. I'm specifically naming this movie that I like, even though it's absolute trash. Where he's a guy that suddenly gets transported into King Arthur's court.
Oh, but it had a different name, didn't it?
Yeah, it had a different name.
That was an awesome movie, though. That was really cool.
It's quite bad, but that goes back to that's a guilty pleasure. I enjoyed it. Martin Lawrence is very funny. I like Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, I do as well. The book I'm thinking of is called A Separate Peace.
That does not sound like a children's book title.
It's a coming-of-age novel by John Knowles, published in 1959, based on his... Oh, I remember the kid's name. His name was Phineas. So, not Dilly, not Denny, not Dally. It was Finney. That was the kid's name in the book, Finney. But yeah, he dies. He got pushed out of a tree.